Now, having mastered the keep command, you're only one step away from being able to reproduce the entire run as a one specific command file. And this is how it can be done. Again, you start by viewing the command log. I already have it open on my screen here. Now you look into the portion of the command file that indicates the very first run. Like in my case, all of these commands were issued when I made my very first modeling run in the GUI. Now what you can do now, you can highlight all of these commands, copy them into the clipboard, open a new notepad window, paste them, and what you now have technically is the exact set of commands that is needed in order to reproduce the run that you made before from a fresh start. And again, as an illustration, if I take this command file and say go file, save as, I was saving it as run1.cmd, and now I can close it. I can open it, the same file, in either the same instance of SPM, or maybe you may have sent it over to someone else, your colleague, or maybe on a different machine, different platforms. As long as you can open it there, and as long as all of the specific references, for instance, things like use command that points to the location of the training data set, and so on. As long as all of those commands are still valid, you can just open the run1.cmd, say submit window, and the entire sequence of commands will trigger the engine execution, producing the same identical run that you have generated previously. Now, there are several things that you can do to make this run1.cmd command file more useful. Again, keep in mind that these things were generated for you by the engine itself, by the GUI part of the application, which usually means that some of these commands could either be redundant, or maybe not all of the key commands were used, or something like that. So what I'm going to tell you at this point is some of the important commands that you may introduce in addition to these commands that was already generated for you to make the underlying command file even more useful, especially if you decide at some point to go to a pure command line execution on other platforms or on other operating systems. So I have this run1.cmd. I can edit it in the notepad window. I could have also edited it in an external application like a notepad or some other type of text editor, because the command file is nothing but a set of text commands that are designed to be interpreted by the command parser of the engine. So here's the few things that I want to do to make this command file more useful from the non-GUI side of things. First of all, I'm going to start it with a special command called the output command. And I usually say that my run1.dat, this run1.dat is a file that will be created as the result of the execution of this command file, and that run1.dat will have all of the classic output, which is all of the conventional text things that each engine is producing as the result of its execution. So let me see it, output run1.dat, or you could have renamed it as a txt if this is a more convenient style for you, or anything like that. The next command that you will find very useful is the grove command. And the grove command specifies the name of the output grove file, which is a file. It's a binary file that has extension grv, and you can name it any way you like it, but I usually use the convention that the name of my command file run1 propagates into the name of the classic output and the name of the Grove file. Now the Grove file is the binary file that includes all of the results of the model building, including things like navigators, tree structures, tree sequences, all of the output performance measures, everything. And the Grove file is portable. It's platform independent. So you can create a Grove file on one Unix platform, then move it to simply copy it into Windows application and open it from within of the GUI side. So it's a very useful command, and I'll illustrate what it does. I have output, I have Grove, and then there's a whole bunch of commands that, for example, in terms of setting up a cart run are not even needed. So, for example, GUI automatically issues things that relate to some tree net. I can easily skip those. There are some parts that relate to the cart. There's some default options, etc. There's some multi-threading commands that are available in version 7.0, so you can easily issue those or skip those if you work on some other older versions. There's a Mars options that I'm not using, and that eventually brings me to the use command. And don't forget that you always, if you're not sure what each command illustrates, just type in help use in the classic output window, and then you will have an exact immediate description of what that command represents. For instance, use command reads data from the file you specify, and it's easy to guess it because that's the name of the data set I'm working with. Everything else goes like that. So you can skip all of the individual commands that appear to be irrelevant. And as you see, there's the limit command that sets the node sizes and so on. That eventually brings me to the model command that sets the target variable, and to the keep command that sets the list of potential predictors. And finally, the entire command sequence is terminated by the cart go command that triggers the execution of a tree building run. Now, what I also usually find useful is to finish my command file with yet another output command that ends with a star. And what that command does, it kind of forces the engine to save this output, classic output text file, and then detach from itself to kind of close it and make it available for viewing outside. So again, what I did here, I did a little bit of a simplifications to the command stream, and I also added a few more commands. The output command that forces the redirects classic output into a text file, and also the Grove command that saves the results of the given run. So at this point I can say save my run, say file, submit window. As you can see, all of these commands are being executed. And what happened as the result of it, if you go into, like in my case, if I go to my training data folder, what happens is that now it has constructed two files for me. Run1.txt, and if you open that file, you'll see it's a classic output resulting from executing the cart run, which is the output that you used to see in the output window. And also has run1.grv, the file that cannot be opened by an external application, but it can be opened from inside of the SPM. So in particular, I can now close all of these files other than the classic output window, because that window always needs to be opened. And if I now say file, open Grove, I can point myself to my run1.grv, say open, and all of the modeling output, the navigator, the tree sequence, the summary reports associated with each tree have now been preserved for me for later viewing.